Can we give them an applause even though we all...
I want to thank Karen and everybody else who's invited me here. And I see there's some Niles Township trustees here and the village clerk and of course, the elected officials from the village. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be serving the village of Lincolnwood because I think it's, I'm proud. I've had a fantastic career where I came from. I want to tell you a little bit about me because I don't know that everybody knows me and knows my background. But I've been in law enforcement for a little over 28 years, and 26 of those I served in the city of Evanston. I rose up through the ranks from patrol officer, served as a detective, tactical officer, narcotics officer, detective doing general assignment, working in cases from theft to homicides to pretty much you name it. Promoted to the rank of sergeant, worked in patrol as a sergeant, worked supervising narcotics and gangs. I supervised detectives. Promoted to the rank of commander, served as a watch commander. And then at that rank, my career path kind of changed. I was always in operations and investigations. And then I was kind of approached to do administrative functions, and I got into community policing. And from there, I actually went into dealing with the media and policy. So I actually served as the public information officer for the police department for 3 years. So I did pretty much everything a public information person does with the police department, dealt with social media, dealt with press releases, dealt with talking on camera with the media, quite a bit of things that take place in Evanston, which I'm sure you know is a little bit busier than Lincolnwood, which is a good thing that Lincolnwood is slower. The thing though that is interesting in my career, when I served in the administrator role, I was dealing with policy, and so writing policy for a police department, and also working with other officers it really kind of gives you the background of how an organization functions. And then from there, I served as the executive officer in that function, and then I was promoted to deputy chief, served as deputy chief of investigations, and then I was deputy chief of support services. And kind of one of the big tasks, one of the big tasks I was functioning with was Evanston implemented a body-worn camera project. So all the officers in Evanston now currently have body cameras, and I was in charge of that project, and that was quite an interesting project to be involved in addition to the administrative end of running the budget and also policy and implementing those policies within the department. And then I also spoke on behalf of the chief when he was unavailable. So, and then I came here to Lincolnwood, obviously, just over 5 months ago, and I'm very happy to be here. I grew up in Rogers Park, just on the other side of the canal. I went to Manford High School. So I spent a lot of time in Lincolnwood at Bunny Hutch when I was a kid. I did not get in trouble, so that was a good thing. But I definitely enjoyed coming here. Plenty of times I would have to pick up bagels and bialys late night on Saturday for my parents so they'd have them Sunday morning. So a little bit of background about myself, but like I said, I'm very happy to be here. See Trustee Patel came in. Nice to see you. How was the cup?
Oh, the Ryder Cup was, it didn't finish as well as we would have liked here and there. Exhilarating experience.
So I'm sure it was. Fun to watch. Anyway, I'm blessed to be here to talk about this topic. I think it's a topic that affects everybody. I think that firearms, whether they're handguns, rifles, there are so many out there, and you'll see some of the statistics that I put in my PowerPoint. It's kind of hard to believe how many are out there. As many guns that get taken that are carried illegally, because that's where the police focus, people that are illegally carrying guns. As many as they take off the street, there are still guns being manufactured. And the people that get a hold of those guns and carry them illegally are the ones that we try to stop. And those are the ones that are really commit the crimes of violence. And Cook County is kind of a unique place in the sense of, they're trying to get the laws changed to increase penalties for people illegally carrying firearms, but people that carry firearms that are convicted felons, not only are they in violation of federal law and state law, but those are the ones that are they have more of a chance of using that gun illegally against somebody in the public, whether it's somebody that they have a conflict with or just an innocent victim. I'm sure you read about in the paper, Saturday morning in Rogers Park, in East Rogers Park, off of Sheridan Road, a 73-year-old gentleman was shot and killed walking his dog. I had actually reached out to see if I could find out some information on it. I don't think they know too much yet, but it's clearly a tragedy, a crime of violence, innocent victim. who was shot and killed. They believe it to be a robbery attempt at this point, but that's close to home. That's very close to home, and that's concerning. But part of my topic I'm going to cover on is just general safety, things people need to know. I want to talk a little bit about the law. So this is kind of the topics I plan to cover. I already kind of got through the introduction myself, but I want to talk a little bit about firearm statistics, the Illinois law on firearms and ownership, talk about the firearm owner identification card, and part of that act, concealed carry. I'm sure a lot of people have questions about that. Law enforcement carry, which is separate from concealed carry. I'm sure some people may have questions about that. Ownership requirements, safekeeping, and dealers and background checks that are required when somebody purchases a gun. And then, of course, safety, which is a huge topic. So there's a couple things I wanted to show you that, dealing with a firearm, you could be as safe and as well trained as possible, but we make mistakes because we're human. I mean, we do make mistakes. I like to think that we don't, but we do. And I'm never sure everybody sitting in this room, whether young or old, there comes a time when you look back and you're like, I wish I would never done that. And whether it's something minor or something serious. So we learn from our mistakes. So and the best part of us learning as humans, we try to learn from other people's mistakes instead of our own. But I wanted to show this video, and I hope it works and plays. This is an incident that people may be aware of. This is a off-duty FBI agent at a bar, and you'll see what happens. That's the wrong one.
He does have pants on, right?
Yeah.
Breakdown circle, a quintessential breakdown circle. There was one man who was doing.
So in that one, I didn't want to get into what the media was covering regarding that, but clearly an accident, but an avoidable accident. Most likely, I'm not going to speculate if that agent was drinking. I mean, he was in a bar. I won't speculate on that, but I will speculate on the fact that the gun did come out while he was dancing. So if you're dancing like that, probably shouldn't be carrying a gun. And if you saw the flash, that's how quick it discharged. That didn't discharge because it fell to the ground. It discharged because he put his finger on the trigger accidentally when he picked it up. So that's how quick it happens. He is very lucky that patron that got hit didn't get hit severely and didn't get killed. But I show that as an example not to criticize that agent, but to just show how quick accidents do happen. We train as law enforcement, we train all the time very routinely. We train to keep our finger off the trigger all the time. The only time you put your finger on the trigger is when you're ready to pull the trigger. Whether that's on, if you're in the field, in operations, or if you're training. And we have found that the way we train is the way we remember and go to. So it's called muscle memory, and the more we train, just like sports players train for, baseball or basketball, whatever moves or plays they do on the field, it's all repetitive. So when they train, that's how they plan to react. Does sometimes mistakes still happen? Absolutely. I think this FBI agent probably trained very well, but he may have not been. He was not in the environment that he probably thought he was, and that's where the error happened. So the next video, though, is a little bit longer, and this is an unfortunate tragedy that really talks about and hits home about handgun safety, securing your firearm. It talks about tragedy involving a teenager where it was clearly a discharge. They got a hold of a gun. It was a relative's gun. It was clearly an accident, but you'll see what happens, and people's lives are ruined because of it. So, and the only reason I play this before we get into the topic is I just think it's important to kind of set the mindset of how, firearms, this is not anti-firearms, this is not for firearms, this is just if you have a gun, you have to secure it, and you have to be careful. I can't reiterate that more than, I'll just keep repeating it because it's so important. You can avoid tragedies from occurring. I mean, it's a tool, if it's used right, it's effective and it's safe. But there's plenty of times we read about where tragedies do occur. And please. Seems very touchy, I apologize. Trying to find my cursor here.
911 emergency. What happened? Someone got my brother got.
I can, I'll play it. I have it on a file. You just give me 1 second, please. It's not working. All right, well, I apologize, it's not playing. This was a tragedy of a 14-year-old. They found the grandfather's gun, and they decided to check out the gun. They thought it was unloaded. They pulled the slide back on the semi-automatic gun. And what happened was they actually put a round into the chamber, and the friend accidentally discharged, and his best friend got killed. So, and clearly a tragedy could have been prevented, but again, if the gun was secured and locked up, would have prevented a tragedy. So that's why we encourage, that's why we have gun locks here. It's just something that, again, those gun locks won't work on every firearm, but they will work on most. There's a cable on there, you can lock it, you can unload the gun, make sure that the gun is secured in the sense of, the only problem with those locks, and I'll be very honest with you, the locks are a good prevention, but I really highly recommend putting it into some type of safe. Because you can cut that lock off, and then the gun is functional. So having a gun safe is probably best. I know some people have other safes, but either way, having some type of safe where the gun is secured is probably the best prevention. So gun trend deaths by year, as you can see. Now this is not just homicides. It's not it's homicides, suicides, accidents, and this is the trend in the United States. As you can see, it's been on an uptick. This number came from the CDC, Center for Disease Control. They have not released the 2017 numbers yet, so the 2016 numbers are the most recent I could get. As you can see, we are on an upswing. It was kind of plateaued from 2012 through 2014. 2015 saw an uptick. 2016 obviously higher. It's anticipated that 2017 numbers are also going to be higher, and that's just because we have so many firearms out there, and our population is growing too. So statistically, those odds with more guns, more people, we're going to have higher numbers. It's not a breakdown per population per capita, but it is just a number that just keeps going larger. And clearly something that when it comes to accidents, especially even suicide, these are things that can be prevented. Making sure that people don't get a hold of guns when they're not feeling, they're not feeling right. They take desperate measures, and they're not thinking in the right frame of mind. And frankly, as you'll see, I talk a lot about. I put this chart up about attempts